Story 1. My understanding is that when they talk about wages, they talk about gross rather than net. I don't know how they are taxed anywhere in the United States, but I wager 100,000 is around 60 to 70,000 net. Sounds like a lot, but it may not be when you add children and a mortgage plus cars to the budget. Story 2. There are a lot of factors. $150,000 isn't the same as it was 10, 20, or 30 years ago. Inflation and income levels haven't kept pace. There are a lot of things we're supposed to be doing. 15% minimum toward future retirement. Trying to save for a child's college fund. Then you have expenses that didn't exist 30 years ago. You pretty much need to have smartphones and plans. Home prices are insane, even if mortgage rates aren't far off from 30 years ago. Car prices are much higher now, as are gas prices. It also comes down to where you live and how you budget. In short, things are much more expensive and income hasn't kept up. Story 3. There are more details than just making $150,000. Don't just read some headline. There was an article from CNBC breaking down the budget of a 25-year-old making $100,000. $615 in donations. Yeah, poor guy is struggling. All these articles are nonsense. Story 4. Things are expensive. Then I got some surprise medical bills I am paying off, and my heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system needed to be replaced. My dog has had $600 in vet bills in the last 2 weeks. Homeowners association fees, property taxes, car insurance, and everything else went up. I drive a truck from 2006. I am very frugal. I am just getting wrecked financially at the moment. Story 5. The median price for a home sold in the United States in March was approximately $420,000. It isn't just a few very high cost of living areas where you need $100,000 to be able to buy a median-priced home anymore. I wouldn't call somebody making over $100,000 poor, but there are plenty of households in that range that aren't living in a huge house or driving fancy cars. Story 6. There are a lot of factors that can play into this, like location, but I will say that keeping up with the Joneses is a big problem. People just flat out overspend on unnecessary things, and it adds up. Story 7. Depends on the location they are in. My $78,000 would put me in a higher income bracket in Nebraska than it would in Los Angeles. I could afford a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom home in Nebraska in a location that has the same population by myself, whereas in the location I am in now, I cannot. Yes, some people waste their income, while others have a hard time surviving on their own single income, even if they earn more. Story 8. I'm a pharmacist who makes over $100,000. The issue isn't my salary. The issue is the student loans a lot of people my age, in their 30s, were told to take on, stating they would get a big bonus upon graduation or salary bumps to pay it off very quickly. When I graduated after my 6-year doctorate, I had $280,000 in student loans. I had no idea at 18 what I was getting into, and neither did my parents. My first loan payment to Sallie Mae was an 11% student loan, $3,000 per month. This was over half my salary. 50% of my graduating peers had similar loans. I paid 6 months of this before finally refinancing when I got some credit established. In that time, my loan balance went nowhere. I was able to live at home, pay my balance down, and save to purchase a house in 2019. My mortgage is $1,800, my new loan payment is $1,000, so still half my salary is essentially going to that. Then there's utilities, gas for the car, car insurance, childcare, etc. I am by no means struggling hard, but every year it has gotten tighter and tighter, and I can completely understand why some people are struggling. I'm even more baffled at how people are doing what they're doing with less. Story 9. Because things are expensive. $100,000. After taxes, that's like $70,000. After rent, $40,000. After electricity and phone, $36,000. Then you have gas, food, medical expenses, and any other random costs you can think of. Story 10. Rent is sky high. The taxes they do pay don't cover most things we take for granted in Europe, such as medical care and schooling, so these are paid separately. Monthly costs include phone bills, food, electricity, gas, trash removal, internet, clothing, and subscriptions for gym and entertainment. Debt practices are often highly predatory, especially if you have student loans with compounding interest. The monthly payments you make barely impact the debt principal. For example, if you have an $80,000 loan with 7% compounding yearly interest and you pay $500 a month, this means that every year, $5,600 worth of interest is added to what you owe. By paying $500 per month, $6,000 per year, you are now only $400 less in debt than at the start of the year. Consider that you might also have car loans, medical loans for serious illnesses, or expenses from having a baby, along with credit card debt payments and childcare expenses. While the United States has the globally highest disposable income, this only accounts for money you take home after taxes and doesn't account for loans, pensions, and normal everyday expenses. When you adjust for these, the monthly expenses can leave people struggling. Story 11. Because they are used to living the bourgeois lifestyle. My wife and I combined make over $100,000 and live fairly comfortably, in my opinion. She grew up with her father earning over $200,000 a year on his own, so she feels like it's a struggle. My wife never had hot dogs and macaroni and cheese for dinner as a child. Story 12. It depends on your definition of enough and the lifestyle you want to have. I have to admit, when I see people on here saying stuff like, my wife and I make over $200,000 per year, we have investments, stocks, and cryptocurrency. We own a house, we own brand new cars, we have a $3,000 gaming computer, and we go on 3 vacations per year. But we still feel poor. I think it's unfair that we only get a month of paid vacation per year. I have to think those people are jerks. Story 13. Single person with no children here. I make around $110,000, and fully funding retirement accounts and health savings account drops that to $80,000. Then health insurance and taxes drop that to a little over $50,000. Mortgage and other housing costs such as bills and general maintenance bring me down to $26,000. Vehicle costs, including insurance, fuel, and maintenance, drop it below $20,000. Food brings me below $15,000. So after necessities, I'm left with a little under $15,000 for things like clothes, gym membership, trips, dinners out with friends, taking care of family, etc. But then, most years, there's some kind of emergency. This past year, it's been car repairs, which have cost a little under $10,000 by themselves. No payments, so I'm saving money overall, but that means no warranty and everything paid for out of pocket. The year before, it was house repairs. So if everything goes perfectly, I'm fairly comfortable. But there's not much extra for the inevitable unplanned expenses that crop up with alarming regularity. Story 14. As someone living in a third world country, I have to say the United States guys have it great regarding anything branded, as the prices overseas are the same, if not way worse, for much lower incomes. For example, a PlayStation 5 is $600, which is a whole salary in my country. Story 15. Most cannot live within their means. We are not taught that you make a certain amount of money, and your expenses cannot exceed this amount. Credit debt is the evil thing that gets everyone in trouble. Story 16. It's just a part of us. The more income you get, the more comfortable you want to be living, and your standard of living jumps up. When I didn't have any money or a job, I was thinking the same way you did. I don't need much money, just enough for food and bills. When I started working and making more than that, and I could afford things without breaking the bank, I started thinking, I'm working hard all day. I might as well make my life more enjoyable when I'm off. And don't get me wrong, I still save and try to invest my money. I don't have any loans and I have available funds, so if I get fired today, I'd be fine for a while. That said, the lifestyle I am maintaining now is far more expensive than when I was at university. And with the rise of your income, so comes the rise of those lifestyle expenses. Story 17. Family of 4 or more in a very high cost of living area might find that $100,000 could be a little tight at times. No kids? Low cost of living area? If you can't comfortably make it on 6 figures, that's what's called a spending problem. Story 18. Financial illiteracy and living above their means. People will say a lot of other things and present some decent excuses, but this is the only real answer. Story 19. Considering I make $45,000 a year and I get by, your question is very, very valid. If I made $100,000 more a year, I'd be able to live a luxurious life at this point and still be able to save. Story 20. One kid at Syracuse University costs around $50,000 per year plus food. The average small home in New Jersey near New York is $500,000. Property taxes for a small home near New York are upwards of $10,000 per year. Story 21. Good question. I live in a very ordinary-looking neighborhood in the Bay Area of Northern California, and the house I rent is listed as being worth $2.5 million on Zillow. The rent I pay is a steal at $4,200 per month. Obviously, the landlords bought this place back when interest rates were much more favorable. Estimated monthly mortgage payments for a place like this now would be around $17,000 per month. This is a very modest 1,000 square foot house with a tiny lawn. Story 22. Early 20s and making 80,000 gross, not 100,000, but I could see how finances could still be tight even with 100,000. For my 80,000, I take home around 56,000, and that is without health or dental insurance and without retirement savings. I work a contract position due to a lack of early career opportunities in my field, and I get no paid time off, no paid holidays, and no benefits. I'm still a dependent on my family's insurance plans, which I'm lucky enough to have available to me until I'm 26, by which point I'd hope to be making closer to 100,000 and would probably have a similar take-home after insurance and retirement account payments. I live in a high cost of living area. My rent for a small one-bedroom apartment is around $2,000 per month. After utilities, groceries, gas, a gym membership, and student loan payments, I made good choices for college and just finished paying mine off in 12 months, paying $1,000 per month. I have around $900 for discretionary spending. I've personally been able to build up some savings with that, but I've had help from my family with my phone plan, car insurance, flight expenses to visit home. I use their streaming service subscriptions, etc. They're very generous with me and I'm thankful for that. But this is to illustrate how without that help, that money I have left over would vanish really quickly. I don't exactly live a lavish lifestyle either. I buy generic brand groceries, eat out maybe once per week on dates, rarely buy new clothes, drive the same 13-year-old car I drove in high school, have used the same phone for 5 years now, rarely drink and never go to bars, haven't even bought myself a video game in almost a year. The one major purchase I made for myself since graduating college was a nicer musical instrument, and even that was financed 2/3 of the way by selling one I already had. If I encountered a costly emergency, I would really struggle with it financially. That's a little bit better now that I can take in an additional $1,000 per month since my loans are paid. But if my car, which needs more in repairs than the car's value, were to stop working, I'd be in a very difficult situation trying to buy myself a used car in the current market. All that is to say, I think 100,000 would allow for a comfortable life for me, but where it would really be insufficient is to cover emergencies. I wouldn't even think about buying a house or raising a family right now, but for many, those are also huge sources of financial drain which would further contribute to the financial problem. I could see how someone might encounter sticky financial situations even making that much, without necessarily making poor financial choices. Story 23. Depends on location and whether or not they have children. Social Security is going to deduct 7.65% from any gross income number, so $7,650 to $11,000 annually in your example. Federal and state income taxes are going to be 20 to 25% depending on state sales and property taxes, income deferral from a 401k, etc. Call it $20,000 to $30,000 annually off your totals. Gross pay doesn't include healthcare premiums of $250 to $400 per month per person in the family. Also, you need to consider that most health plans these days have $5,000 plus deductibles, so you pay the majority of your healthcare, dental, and eye care costs out of pocket. Health insurance is really only useful for dealing with catastrophic losses or having children. You should be saving at least 3 to 5% to maximize your company match on a retirement plan. That's a decent chunk of cash, even if it is pre-tax dollars and it reduces your income tax burden slightly. Student loan payments aren't cheap. Many people incur debt to earn that level of income. My ex has student debt that runs over $500 per month. Most people aren't earning higher six figures without a graduate school degree or advanced training. Utilities run $180 to $450 per month, depending on heating and air conditioning needs. Cell phone is another $70 to $90 per month per phone with most carriers. Cars, including gas, will probably run $700 per month or more per car owner. If you aren't paying a premium to live in a big city where they have mass transit, you need a vehicle in the United States. I have a modest used car, and I spend about $200 to $250 a month on gas, $330 on the car payment, $80 on insurance, and about $50 on maintenance. Even if you're taking mass transit like the L in Chicago, you're looking at $5 per day or $100 per month. That lower transportation cost is more than offset by higher rent costs. Groceries are usually $800 to $1,200 for a family of 4 each month. That's if you don't eat out a lot. Just a quick trip to a fast casual restaurant like Noodles, Qdoba, or Five Guys will easily run $50 to $80 for a family of 4 to 5. Each entree is $10 to $12, and drinks are $2 to $3. Daycare is over $400 a week where I live, or $1,600 per month, for only one child. Formula for younger children runs $80 or more per month. Diapers are approximately $90 per month, and wipes are another $30 to $40 per month. Caring for a newborn to a 2-year-old is very expensive. Children grow fast, so expect to spend a lot more on clothing, shoes, outerwear for winter, etc. Easily $30 to $100 or more on average per month per child for clothing. Winter jacket, hat, gloves, boots, snow pants, etc. New shoes at least once a year. Club dues, swimming lessons, and extracurricular activities for your children will run hundreds of dollars each month. Swimming lessons are $60 to $80 per month per child. Music lessons will be $75 to $100 or more per month. Little League is $450 per season, and don't forget that they need new gear every season. These costs add up quickly. This is a luxury item, but many people expect to be able to afford it for their children. So, in summary, $150,000 gross income, $11,000 Social Security, $30,000 federal and state income tax. Even if you have zero state income tax, expect more in other categories like property and sales taxes in other states. $12,000 healthcare, dental and eye care for a family of 4. $5,000 401k/individual retirement account savings. $6,000 student debt/professional development. $8,000 transportation for a 1-car family. $10,000 food. $20,000 daycare for 1 child. $36,000 housing/rent. This is well below current housing costs in most markets. Probably should be $40,000 to $48,000. $5,000 utilities, cell phone, etc. You have $7,000 left for clothing, hobbies, and discretionary spending. Living large. God forbid you have any other debt at today's interest rates. Better hope your spouse is working too if you want a second car.